So yes, 30 minutes, 27 minutes of gameplay, 4K. I'm gonna watch it, break it down.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this first glimpse at the gameplay of Dune Awakening. I'm really excited to welcome you into our world, but I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, this is a beta. It's beta footage, so you'll see bugs and you'll see things that need polish still. And secondly, our tutorialization is still a work in progress. With that said, let's get into it.
Reiterate again that
the start of the game, Dune Awakening, begins off-world on this large spaceship.
Show yourself, child.
It is here, in the presence of the Reverend Mother, the character creation begins. Now the first thing you'll do is choose your preset avatar. Some of these are heavily inspired by the Denis Villeneuve movies. Once you've chosen a base visual look, you can then move into the depths of character creation and make choices about how your character feels, both in terms of age, but also a plethora of physical attributes. Our goal in giving players access to a detailed character creator is to really allow them to create the avatar that lets them fulfill their fantasy of living out their dreams on Arrakis. There are a multitude of hairstyles.
I wonder if you can get the blue eyes. If you gain blue eyes like with a higher level or something, or the longer you play or something, you know? The longer you spend on Arrakis, and what spice you consume. Start to get blue eyes. Be a nice touch.
Things such as tattoos for players to choose from. You can even choose different styles of lipstick and eyeshadow.
Exposure to the spice. The spice melange. What I wonder, can you make a fat character? I want to make me with the nose ring thingy. I don't think so. I think it's probably two body types. It's two body types. Body type 1, body type 2.
You can choose the muscle tone of your character, from height, arm thickness, leg thickness, neck length.
I will eat the Harkonnens.
Once you finish your character, you choose your name and enter the world.
Declan.
Have they told you?
Well, then we
what
move
I
into
am?
the second phase of character creation.
Then I will sift your words for lies. Let's begin. Where were you born?
The second phase of character creation
A world
is
of
where
water.
you, as a person who may or may not know anything about Dune, get to make choices about who you were before the game starts. Where you come from, what caste you belong to in the Dune universe, and of course, perhaps most importantly, who your mentor was.
Who was your mentor?
So there's a few different things, abilities, attributes that these come with, these choices. It tells you here: training, Bene Gesserit, physical mastery, manipulation. Starting ability, voice compel. Use the voice to force someone towards your position from afar. So it's like a, what would you call that? Kind of like a crowd control tactic, tank kind of tactic almost. Doesn't really, utilitarian kind of tactic. What is that? It's like a, well, it's interesting nonetheless. It gives you you know, the option to kind of
Bad advice.
What, as a
deal
person who
with
may or may
problematic
not know
mobs.
anything
I don't know if that works on players, but
about Dune,
I'm blocking.
get to
Sorry.
make choices about who you were before the game starts. Where you come from,
Bad advice.
what caste you belong
make a
to
bad
in the Dune
deal.
universe, and of
Be
course,
close to
perhaps
power
most
is to
importantly,
walk the
who your
night
mentor
sea.
was.
Who was your mentor?
Your mentor determines your
I keep wanting to see the Swordmaster one, but I missed it. Mentor, recon and strategy training, battlefield calculation, scan nearby enemies and objects, gaining information about them. We've seen that one a few times. It's a bit like the scan from Star Citizen. It like boop, boop, goes across the land, then you get like feedback of nearby enemies and things. Swift, easy on the caps, please.
starting set of skills when you enter the game.
You must have been very young. The mind must be prepared, or the training does not take. The test is almost complete. Have you spoken truth? Come here. Kneel.
She's very persuasive.
Put your hand in the box. bar. The high-handed enemy. Don't pull away or you will die.
Do you listen to Nickelback? Be honest. Yes, I quite like it. Is what some of you would say if you couldn't quite appreciate the genius of Nickelback.
Great plots are afoot in the Imperium, and the currents of intrigue run deeply. Arrakis is the key, and the Fremen are missing.
They ain't missing.
Go to Arrakis.
They're
as
everywhere.
Our agent prisoner.
They're all over
You
Arrakis.
have one task. Find the Fremen. Wake the sleeper. You will know when it is done.
Definitely going to be some sort of large overarching narrative for
Now
both.
we're going to jump ahead a little.
Both players, whether you choose like to go through Atreides or Harkonnen, probably there's this overarching narrative to either find them as the Atreides, kill them as the Harkonnen. Maybe. Just a guess. Just a guess.
Bit in the story here.
What's up, Spader?
Skipping past several events just to sort of get into the early new player experience of the game. And you'll see that the player, after various shenanigans, wakes up here in a cave. And as we sort of look around the cave, we'll notice that it's filled with Fremen and
There it is.
the remnants of, this ancient culture.
How did you get there? That's what I want to know. Who dragged you down into the cave? Sent you to sleep.
So now as the player takes their first steps in the world, they're really here amongst the dead. And so the first question they should be asking is, what happened here?
Which
Who
side
are
to
these
go,
people?
guys? There's stuff. There's stuff on
And,
screen.
This is just a place where we give players a little bit of time to adjust their settings, get a feel for the movement keys, and then move forward into the cave. And they'll stumble upon their first major interaction point, which is the Frem Kit.
Hey.
Frem Kit in our game serves as both a backpack for the player, of course, but also really a guide. The Fremen used to pack these with interesting objects that they could use to survive in the desert, and it's no different from the player.
Okay. Cool. All right. So the Frem Kit, obviously, it's one of those things you probably just... It's essential, right? You can't play without it. So this is the crafting screen we've just opened up. You can craft the heal kit, heals wounds and cleanses ongoing effects. Scrap metal knife, classic survival. Put a knife together. Use it to probably go cut some weeds that you can squeeze for water or something. Designed by necessity, using whatever is close at hand. Many resort to this melee weapon for short-range blade damage. Okay. Yeah. Standard stuff so far, but I love the UI. I'm liking the UI. I like it because it's simple. It's clean. Everything I've seen of the UI so far has been pretty damn good. I haven't really got any major complaints with it.
So here they begin their first crafting experience, crafting a small scrap knife out of metal that was in the Frem
Christian.
Kit.
What's up, dude?
These caves have been moisture sealed. In order to
Moisture
preserve
sealed?
the moisture of those within the cave.
So if they've been moisture sealed and you're down in a cave where there's all these mummified Fremen, something tells me, chat, it's probably the Fremen who put you there, Probably the Fremen. Equip your glow tube via the radial wheel or hotbar shortcut. I'm probably going to stay on this side, guys. It seems like most of the information keeps popping up on the right, so I'm going to stay on the left.
So the player, as they explore, will be able to use their scrap metal knife to pierce the seals and escape. So really this entire area, built using Unreal Engine 5.
Micro sandwich fabric. Okay. Is it the same thing you wrap your sandwiches with? Is there a lot of sandwiches on Arrakis?
It's just to sort of get the player and ease them into the path. A lot of survival games have very abrupt, very harsh beginnings, and we tried to you know, make the experience of joining Dune Awakening just a little easier. Just give people a little bit of a feel.
Heal kits. Harvesting plant fiber will yield components for crafting heal kits. Gather plant fiber and craft a heal kit. Okay. This is such Last Oasis vibes, which is a good thing, in my opinion. Arrakis cling film. Yeah. Sandwiches are the only things on Arrakis, so that's why everybody wants Arrakis. Makes sense now.
For the world before we really toss them out into the harshness that is the desert of Arrakis. So here we've crafted a heal kit, and we're going to use that to heal our character. And once we're healed, you'll see that our stamina bar in the bottom left appears. And now that we have stamina, we can climb.
So
the climbing system in Dune Awakening is based in part on the one that we built for Conan Exiles. It's a free-form climbing system. It can be used to climb almost anywhere. And as you'll see later, the new technology available in Dune Awakening, such as suspensor belts, allows us to do even more interesting things with traversing.
I love the mobility you have in the game, from what I've seen. It's perfect for how big the maps are. Looks like the stamina just continuously drains.
So once we finish that first little section, we're jumping ahead. We're going straight into the buffs to
real
world.
Increase stats so you can climb.
Here are your first steps on
longer
Arrakis.
And further.
Your ornithopter has crashed,
Obviously.
and you've got to escape from the crash site immediately because the sandworm always comes. And what you have to keep in mind is these are the little ones.
That is huge. And that's
So
the little ones.
Yeah,
we saw the big one on the previous gameplay reveal. The ones you get in the deep desert.
The other thing that you have to pay attention to as a player is sunstroke and heat. So if you see in the top middle of the UI here, we've got this sunstroke bar building up. The longer you stay in the sunlight, the more chance you have of getting into the sunstroke state. And of course, our player here, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, has decided to stay in the sun and try harvesting water from plants. So he has become sunstroked. Sunstroke gives you a debuff. It means that your water goes down much faster than it normally would. That means you'll need to drink more often. So stick to the shadows, avoid the sun. It will eventually wear off if you stay in shade long enough.
Yeah, it seems pretty easy overall to get water. I guess the water mechanic is really there to stop you from just trying to cross these giant open plains of desert. The water mechanic, like you know, all the plant fibers and things that are in the shade on the rock, probably quite abundant, probably quite common. But it's there to kind of limit your ability to travel across the open desert without some form of vehicle, to promote the use of you using vehicles, which are obviously going to be pretty important. Not least because of the sandworms. If you're running across the sand, probably attracts the worm really quickly as well. And you can't outrun it on foot.
So now that we've made our way out of the first part of the desert and we're heading deeper in, we're going to start to harvest in the game world. So harvesting in a lot of these survival games is quite similar. In this case, we're picking up items, but we're about to pull out what's known as the cut array. And what we do with the cut array is we analyze structures to find their weak points, and then we cut along those lines to break open the structures and gain the resources inside. This is like mining. We apply it to rocks, we apply it to metals in the game world. And at the start of the game as a player, you'll just be scrounging around, picking up, you know, finding structural weak points in rocks that you can harvest, breaking them apart, and taking those pieces with you. Now we've jumped ahead a little bit, and we see that the player is starting to be affected by the spice.
I like it. It's not exactly challenging. It's just giving you, like, somewhere to point your beam, right? It doesn't look like it's going to be that challenging. Like, follow the line with your beam. Like, I don't know. It looks quite easy. It doesn't look like it's every time you want to do that. It's not like a tricky mini game, from what I can tell. Early 2025 is the going release window, PUBG 6, so far. Big Wells, good evening. Jezzy, good to see you as well. Welcome in everybody who's just tuned in. 07s, we've got 30 minutes of gameplay here to go through. We've just got started. This is 4K video clip from Funcom, which is really cool of them to send that out to some of their creators.
Yeah. And this means that players need to get somewhere safe.
This is what they're showing at the booth at Gamescom.
Before the spice overwhelms them and overwhelms their senses. And this is another large part of the game. We're not going to show too much of it today. But spice is a very important part.
Oh, what the hell? Like he's starting to go on a trip. Did I miss something there?
You know, finding structural weak points in rocks that you can harvest, breaking them apart, and taking those pieces with you. Now we've jumped ahead a little bit, and we see that the player is starting to be affected by the spice.
So he's walking through some sort of... You can see there's like a spice field. There is like a spice field there. I see. And it looks like it has some sort of effect on you. Got it. Got it. High five. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, man. 67 months. Welcome back in. Meaty salutes to you. Hope you're well. Thanks for the support, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And this means that players need to get somewhere safe, in shelter, before the spice overwhelms them.
Okay, it says he's got spice withdrawals.
And this is another large part of the game. We're not going to show too much of it today. But spice is a very important part.
And yeah, the textures do look better, Big Welsh.
With the world broken apart by the War of Assassins, there are NPC bases scattered all over Arrakis.
Oh,
We're switching to a different character now. One who's slightly more advanced, and he's using his binoculars to mark an NPC outpost. I'm going to mark that. That marker will then appear on our compass. And you're able to approach them in any way you like. In this case,
wow.
Our character uses a Shigawire Claw combined with a suspensor belt to get up to high ground.
Holy mobility! Look how much ground he just covered. What? Okay, that's actually way quicker, way faster travel than I actually thought it would be. I thought it'd be a little bit slower than that, but he just covered so much ground with the Shigawire and a little bit of the suspensor belt. It looks like the slowest part of traveling is just going to be climbing up rocks. Once you're at like the peak, you're going to be like crossing half the desert in no time. There was a lot of space covered there, yeah. That looks so cool with the Harkonnen character, though. It's so iconic already. The way that Denis Villeneuve gave them like that pasty bald look, it's made them... I'd say it's made them more iconic looking than the gingers from David Lynch's.
I'm going to mark that. That marker will then appear on our compass. And you're able to approach them in any way you like. In this case, our character uses a Shigawire Claw combined with a suspensor belt to get up to high ground and approach the enemy base from above.
This looks nuts. I think this is going to be... It's going to make it really hard to deal with people in PvP. Imagine how much Shigawiring there's going to be going on in any given PvP fight. I guess it's got to have a cooldown or something. Got to have a cooldown, right? Let's have a look.
To get up to high ground.
Yeah,
using
it's got
binoculars to mark an NPC outpost.
I think it's got a cooldown. If you see
that marker
the
will
little
then
queue
appear
along the
compass.
bottom,
and you're able to approach them in any way you like. In this case, our character uses a Shigawire Claw combined with a
it's got like a
belt
8
to
second
get up to
cooldown.
high ground and approach the enemy base from above.
Okay, cool.
Kind of one of the interesting things about Dune Awakening is just how you can combine the different abilities. And this is how traversal really plays into the game. Like, you end up being able to attack these bases from any angle that you'd like. Now, our player is going to craft the first gun in the game, known as a Mauler pistol, which translates to, the basic kind of weapon in the game. As you may know, in Dune, bullets are not the preferred type of ammunition. Instead, it's darts, which are fired at a slower rate in order to try and attempt to pierce shields. Now, this early in the game, enemies don't really have shields, so the player is going to sneak into the base from above and use a combination of their early abilities. In this case, dropping out a grenade, then sneaking around the corner, and beginning to get into NPCs head-on. Now, troopers are the basic shock troops of the universe, and their ability trees reflect that. Grenades, Shigawire Claws for moving around, and of course, they're able to take down people with headshots. You can see how
it's crazy.
suspensor belts really allow you to change your approach to combat.
I love the suspensor belts. I wonder if there's a negative to wearing them. Is everybody going to be rocking suspensor belts? Is there going to be downsides to using suspensor belts so that people are more sort of... You come across more sort of versatile builds almost? Like, I don't know. Maybe you can be... Maybe if you're... I was going to say, like, maybe if you're too heavy, if you're wearing heavier armor, maybe you can't use a suspensor belt or it's not as effective. But then I think of that fat ass, the Baron, literally, that the suspensor belt is how he gets around. So that probably doesn't fly lore-wise. But That would be my guess. Like maybe, yeah, exactly, Bart. Like maybe you can't wear like heavy armor to use a suspensor belt. It's make it something that's good for people who want to play like more of a recon, faster role. Yeah, I'm just imagining everybody's wiring around everywhere, suspensor belting everywhere. It's going to look crazy. I do love it though. It's in one of those little things that just kind of helps set the game apart from other ones. I mean, look at Titanfall. It's not nowhere near the same sort of level of mobility, but just that added mobility you get with that game makes it unique and more fun to play. And considering, I will say things look a little bit rigid with the movement, the combat and everything. It could well still be early days. This is beta footage. They haven't refined it yet. We don't know when this footage was recorded. It still looks like there is definitely some beatiness there, some baitiness there. Like there's a little bit of clunk, little bit of stutters I can see with the movement. The animations are a little bit stiff. The NPCs look maybe a little bit stiff as well. I don't know how much that could get refined, how much that could change between now and 2025, but it could do. It could well do. It could well improve. It's a minor complaint, I'd say. So far, what I'm seeing, I'm liking a lot. This footage now as well, from what we saw on the YouTube video compared to what we saw on the YouTube video yesterday, everything looks a lot cleaner. The detail and the graphics look better. It looks smoother as well. You get like a kill
Dune Awakening
confirm
is at heart a third-person shooter with melee
effect.
And abilities. And it's the combination of melee, abilities, and range shooting that creates what we call combined arms.
I hope we see some more melee combat. Didn't see any of it in the gameplay reveal yesterday.
We've taken
really.
a fair
Just
bit of
very
damage
quick
in this battle.
second or two.
So we're going to stop for a second to heal ourselves up with a bandage. Bandages heal over time, so you can't just heal yourself to 100%. You have to actually get into safety, get behind cover before you start using them. Now we're going to quickly switch to a slightly different character.
You can just completely level change with the suspensor belt. It's not like you need to come off a high ground. Like he's just jumped and then floated up. Yeah, the landscapes look really nice. The environment looks great. I like what they've done with the environment. What's up, online? Welcome in.
To show off more of the melee that we have in the game, because you're about to see that when a character gets in close, it's melee time. This character
we're going to see more melee
abilities. First of all, the knee charge, which is about getting in close to do damage in combat, and then quickly setting up to a riposte.
I see what I mean with it. Slightly with the animations are a little bit rigid, I don't know. Something about that doesn't look right. Looks a little bit off to me. Sort of like, I don't know if it doesn't quite look right to me. The animation of the attack was good. His running around with that blade looks a bit, I don't know, looks a bit stiff.
Charge, which is about getting in close to do damage in combat, and then quickly setting up to a riposte, which allows you to parry and return massive amounts of damage to your enemies.
So you can
Of course, later in the
parry?
game, when enemies have shields, melee is a much more emphasized style of combat. And you see that when a player is not really equipped to handle range characters, they have to fall back on their abilities to get in close. Now, we've switched again. Now we're going to switch to a set of Mentat abilities. One of these abilities is known as Battlefield Calculation. Using Battlefield Calculation, the Mentat is able to calculate from anybody that they see what they're carrying and what they're wearing.
Cool.
Now we've dropped out our Hunter Seeker.
Oh.
And we're using our Hunter Seeker ability to take down enemies in the world really quickly.
Okay, that's pretty powerful then. So you can just use the scan to single out the most important targets and then deploy the Hunter Seeker, deal with them. Obviously, if you've got like other people with you, sword masters and things, they'll be dealing with everybody else. Nice little ability. Combo. Big brain games, big brain plays. Exactly. You've got to make the big brain plays. So the melee class. So did he say this was a sword master, or at least he's got some sword master abilities? Obviously, he's got like a crossover with the Mentat as well, I guess. But it looks very much like, yeah, you're going to have trouble closing the distance. Your Holtzman shield is obviously going to help. You've got to use abilities to close the distance. Then once you're in close, the melee is really powerful.
Field calculation.
But he said, let me just go back here. What did he say about like the parrying? Because I am wondering if there is any kind of directional combat or any kind of block parry gameplay where you have to like, you know, block in certain directions and things. I don't think there is. I can't remember how Conan Exiles did it, chat. You Conan Exiles players or people who remember more. Conan Exiles was basically just slash, wasn't it? There was slashing, and I think you could have a shield, which just reduced damage. I don't think there was a like a full block. Would it be just a timing block, not directional? It has combos. It has combos. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Face them AC style. What do you mean Swift AC style? I could slash and wave your cock around. You're avoiding damage by rolling, dodging, and things in Conan. All right, let's go back here and see what he says again.
First of all, the knee charge, which is about getting in close to do damage in combat, and then quickly setting up to a riposte, which allows you to...
All right, so it looks like an ability, right? He initiates the ability, big cooldown here. Initiates the ability, and then it blocks an incoming melee attack, but it isn't like a part of your standard melee combat. It looks like an ability there.
Melee time.
Damn it, sorry, I keep going a little bit too far.
Charge, which is damage in combat. And then quickly setting up to a riposte, which allows you to parry and return massive amounts of damage to your enemy.
But there's like a 20-second cooldown on the riposte, so it'll do. Animations look sluggish, but enough time for them to refine these. Yeah, it definitely looks early days, as Chris would say. How'd you get your hands on this, Jaywalker? This is from Funcom. I signed up for their Funcom creator program quite a while ago, and I guess this is part of that. Yeah, they sent it through today, which is really cool. It's this is what they're showing off at the Gamescom booths, and yeah, they've sent it out to some of their creators online as well.
Of course, later in the game, when enemies have shields, melee is a much more emphasized style of combat. And you see that when a player is not really equipped to handle ranged characters, they have to fall back on their abilities to get in close. Now, we've switched again. Now we're going to switch to a set of Mentat abilities. One of these abilities
switch sides so you can see the other stuff on the other side for a little bit.
Using battlefield calculation, the Mentat is able to calculate from anybody that they see what they're carrying and what they're wearing. I don't like the sound of that. Now we've dropped out our Hunter Seeker, and we're using our Hunter Seeker ability to take down enemies in the world really quickly.
I wonder if you can counter that, if you can see the Hunter Seeker. If you know anything about it from the movies, like it's tiny and incredibly deadly. I wonder if you can counter it in the game. I mean, there must be a way to counter it, right? Or if it's countered by shields or something. Obviously, if you're using that on a player, it's probably not going to be a one-hit kill. It's probably just going to be a high damage output ability. But I wonder if you can just see them and shoot them, or if you have to like use a certain ability or have certain equipment. Stand still, I guess. Probably not, but you know, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, like an EMP or something.
Now, obviously, when you're playing with a friend, you want to combine your abilities and work together.
I hate that there's a
in this
like
case,
an Atreides in a
point out to
Harkonnen
their friend where people are in the world and how much ammo and stuff they have. And you'll see that when enemies go down, sometimes they go into a down but not out state. It's up to you whether you execute them or continue to fight. After a quick reload, it's back into the battle, with our friend coming from above, throwing out one more grenade.
Dude, grenades are everywhere, apparently. Exsanguination. What the hell is that? Very cool so far. This is really cool. I'm seeing way more footage than I thought we'd see. I thought it'd be like one guy. I thought the 30-minute gameplay they'd show us would be basically one person in a Hacker Basin starting out, collecting, like, you know, sticks for 28 minutes. But this has been nice. This is like a vertical slice, seeing a bit of everything. Oh, it's the draining of blood. Ah. Please tell me you can switch shoulders perspective. I don't know, actually. Don't know about that, Sneak. He's a part of Harkonnen. Part Harkonnen. Wouldn't he have, like, just like stubble at least on his hair? Purification of water from blood. Ah, exsanguination. I didn't know that's what it was called. Thank you, chat. DTOX, grab the chest. Not a loot goblin. I'm so irked he did not grab that chest. I need to know what's in it. Hey, Dark, good evening, dude. Royale with cheese, the 74 months. Thank you kindly for the resub, my friend. Thank you for your support. Tier 1, really appreciate it. Welcome back in. Yeah, if you're just tuning in, this is the 28 minute from gameplay walkthrough from Funcom that they dropped during Gamescom. They sent out some 4K videos of the presentation to creators, and I had it in my email before the stream today, which is fantastic. Great timing.
And once you've defeated your enemies in battle, sometimes you just got to take their blood. In order to...
Blood sack. All right. Design blood sack. So back in the crafting menu here, portable container used for carrying extracted blood. Looks like it's made out of salvaged metal and plant fiber. Again, these are the sort of items that are those sort of repeatable items you're going to repeatedly build over and over again. So not a huge amount of resources required, which is good. I hate it when they give it that when they make it so that the most basic of items need so many different resources. Everything I've seen from Dune Awakening so far, it's all about making it. It's a crafting survival game, but way less emphasis on the tedious side of crafting and survival games. As somebody who isn't such a big fan of that side of them, I'm happy. Sorry, GT. No can do. Actually, they specifically said Funcom specifically mentioned not to put this footage out on its own. So I have to be in front of it. It has to be, it's got to be somewhat transformative. Sorry, can't get rid of that dork in the corner, GT.
Get water, the player's going to have to craft themselves this blood sack and this blood extractor and use it to harvest blood from their fallen enemies.
Blood extractor.
Now,
Love it.
In our game, it's not always a good thing to just take blood from people. It's potentially bad and can only be used for certain things. Once you
take blood from
the blood, you can then, of course, drink it. As you'll see here, the player takes a big sip from their blood bag. But when they do that, it causes a debuff because the blood is not exactly pure, and drinking blood for water is not exactly a one-to-one scenario. So you'll see that our health bar got shorter while our water bar went up. So being a blood drinker is not always looked upon in the right way.
Okay, so it's like a desperate thing. If you've just killed a bunch of dudes, but there's nothing to drink nearby, and dudettes, of course, then you go and drink some blood. Drink the blood, but you're going to lose some health in the process, which is kind of cool. I guess it means that encourages you to be prepared in PvP situations, specifically, right? In big PvP situations or big PvE situations. You're going to want to have supplies, water to replenish after a fight. You don't want to have to resort to drinking the blood of your slain enemies, because especially if you're already in a combat situation, it's going to decrease your health at the same time. It's like something you do after the battle. Hey, Treadball, welcome back. Rotten flesh in MC type beat. What? Player bases.
Of course, once you've played the game for a little while, you'll start wanting to build your own base. And the first part of that is placing down what we call a sub-fief console. A sub-fief console allows you to claim a small part of Arrakis as your own. But it does in turn mean that you'll start to owe taxes to the Emperor. So here we are with our
land claims
system. And you can see that we have two types of building here. We have the holograms, which show in the beginning. I call them Solido projections internally. And we have the way that you fill in, which is by holding down the mouse button in this case. So the cool thing about this is it allows us to have this cooperative building system. So you'll see that one player places out the Solido projections and the other player fills.
The ASCII art comes through on stream. No, get rid of it, chat. I can't put this on my YouTube with that art in the corner underneath me. Hold on a minute. I can line up with it. Oh no. We'll have to cut that from the video. Dropship pilot signing in. I'll drop the water in, boys. Oh yes. Water delivery. Le aqua. Yeah, so once you put a land claim down, so once you decide where you want your base to be, that's when you have to start paying taxes. Didn't they mention that if you stop paying taxes, or it's not taxes, it's the power, right? I remember, or maybe it was taxes. If you stop paying taxes, then your base is like, it either depreciates or you can be attacked. If I recall correctly, something like that. Or you had to keep your base fed with power. And they said you could be attacked at that point. But I do wonder if that's AI attack your structures or if it's players. Because I know that in these areas, the building areas, the Haga Basins, it's generally safe. There's generally only PvE. And then there's limited areas where the PvP occurs inside these PvE mostly areas. Mostly PvE areas. So it'd be weird and also kind of cool if your base is suddenly flagged for PvP if you haven't paid your taxes or kept on top of maintenance. Would be kind of cool. Be kind of a good way of dealing with people that just leave bases around and you know, you get that problem in games where people will build stuff and they'll just leave it, and then you just basically get these trash buildings everywhere because they don't depreciate. They don't require maintenance. But if you basically made it so that your base is, if you didn't pay the taxes to the Imperium, is it the Landsrad? It'd be the Landsrad, I guess. If you didn't pay taxes, or if you didn't keep on top of maintenance, then yeah, it would essentially then be attackable by AI. Maybe the game could spawn in AI, and the AI can come attack it, destroy it. If you're quick enough and you suddenly pay your taxes or suddenly get the maintenance online, put the power in, then it's protected again. Otherwise, that's kind of a good way of dealing with old structures, old disused structures. Conan did PvE raids against your base, so it's possible that PvE things happen. That would be cool. Yeah. Okay, so Conan did it, and as we know, they're definitely taking stuff from Conan for this. It makes sense, lore-wise. Not paying the Emperor would incur him allowing others to attack you, where if you don't power, it will degrade. Yeah, it would make sense, so. Yeah. I think that'd be cool. I'm just loving what I'm seeing from this game so far. You know me, I've been trying to contain my expectations and hype, but the more I've seen, the more I like. The more I like. If the Fremen attack, can you enslave them? I think you're going to have problems on your hands if you enslave the Fremen. Namely more Fremen.
Them in with the materials from their inventory. This is just a way that lets people play together and build together in an interesting and exciting way.
Oh, that giant Imperial ship in the air.
We've seen through our experience with Conan Exiles that some people just love to build in these games. So we've created a system called the Blueprint Building System that allows players to save a copy of their base as one of these giant holographics. Then they can take them out into the world and place them out wherever they like and then rebuild. And we have another system in the game which allows you to take these, big architectural designs of your buildings and sell them to other players on the exchange. Once again, this is a way to quickly move your base around the world. If you've got a design you like, you don't have to, throw it out immediately. And it allows you to create these interesting masterpieces. It also, as you can see here, allows you to, If you're not artistically minded and you don't like building big bases, you can buy them from other players.
I love that, dude. Yeah, if you're not like somebody who wants to go meticulously build a structure, you got the money, you're just going to go buy someone else's blueprint, someone else's structure on the exchange. Love it. It's architect gameplay. That is like Star Wars Galaxies. They did say, you know, Joel said he was taking inspiration from Star Wars Galaxies. And that's kind of similar, I guess. Kind of similar to the architect in SWG. Can we eat our enemies? It's not a Dune game if I can't eat people. It's simple. We eat the Batman. Yeah, the style looks great. The style looks beautiful. The structures, like I said before, the aesthetics and everything, they're nailing. My only issues so far are the combat looks a little bit rigid. Doesn't really feel very fluid. The animations feel a little bit rigid. The performance, I'm not so sure. Looks a lot better on this video than what we saw on the YouTube reveal, I think. But as you can tell, they have still... this is a vertical slice of the game, which I did not expect to get. We're seeing a vertical slice of it. But what they've done is they've obviously only given us small amounts of each piece so far. Still early days. Early days. They've got plenty of time to improve upon those things. I'm trying to think of like some other big negatives I've seen so far. It still waits to be seen like exact player counts for the areas in the game. They don't think they've confirmed the player count for the Deep Desert or the I was going to say, I needed a Freudian slip. I was going to say the Shagger Basins. The Hagger Basins. They haven't, I don't think they've established exactly how many people are going to be in the Hagger Basins yet. But maybe we'll find that out in this video. Exactly, Swift. Hey, Yasnog, welcome in, man. Base crafting.
Once you finish crafting a base, you want to fill it with all kinds of machines, fabricators, and refineries.
All right, this is
extended. And of
extended.
course, harkening back to the blood extraction we just did, we've got the blood purifier.
Ooh.
So what we want to do is take the...
Ooh, the blood purifier. So you come back with the blood sack. You come back with the blood sack and you purify that shit and get the water out. So cool. I got dragged to a Shagger Basin before I didn't have enough money, so I left empty-handed. I love this. I love how they've just they've pulled so much from the lore and the films. So yeah, you come back with the blood sack. That's a really good. It's good, like promoting you to definitely take the blood of your enemies because you can come purify it. It's not all a negative.
Blood from our blood sack and deposit it into the blood purifier, and over time it will refine into lovely fresh water, which we can then extract into our liter-johns and carry with us out into the desert. While there's many varieties of fabricators that you can use to craft things in the game, one of the most exciting things is crafting yourself a vehicle. So we're opening the technology menu, and from here we're able to purchase the design for a sand bike.
All right. So you go to the tech tree. Again, kind of similar to Last Oasis. You go to the tech tree. What are you spending to unlock these things on the tech tree? Is it some sort of skill points? Can't tell. What is this? Intel. Intel? Are you spending Intel to unlock tech? Would make sense. So Intel is like some other kind of resource. I wish I was playing, Dave. No, this is a 30-minute video presentation from Funcom in 4K. Hey, Savage, what's up? How's the Dune game looking? Real nice. It's looking good, man. Looking good. I got to be honest, I have a spiced chub right now. I'm so fucking pumped for it to come out already. Dude, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I want to manage everybody's expectations, though. I don't want you guys to get too excited. 2025 isn't that long away. But you're welcome to get excited if you want. Intel. So Intel is what you're going to use to unlock tech, which is really cool. Another resource that I don't know how you get hold of Intel, but I like it. And down here in the bottom right, you can see it says bundle includes. So that's the bundle for the bike. Is that the different parts? Oh, different. Let's carry on. Let's keep going.
Sandbike is one of the early vehicles available to players in the game. And you can kit it out with different types of modules, including an extra seat, which allows you to bring your friends with you.
Ah.
So in this menu, you can see we're fabricating ourselves a sandbike. And all the different parts of the sandbike have to be fabricated individually.
God, it looks so good. I love it. And this is all inside someone's base. Multiple floors, multiple stations. You got the vehicle building station, the purification station, the masturbation station. You know, you got everything. I'm liking what I'm seeing. And so this is the vehicle fabricator. You see on the left, designs, sandbike seat assembly for the sandbike power supply, fuel efficient power supply needed for sandbikes, exploration treads needed for sandbikes to move. So this implies that you're probably going to be able to build a variety of different types of sandbikes. Or did he just mention that? A variety of different types based on the parts that you have. Sandbike engine, fuel efficient engine, sandbike chassis, sandbike body. This all looks like the standard stuff. And then maybe you can build, customize it to whatever job you need it to do. The baiting stations in the Shagga Basin only. Base building, fabrication, ground vehicles, dude. It's got it all, man. It's got it all. I played Conan, for a little while. Naikai. Don't you remember when we played Conan Exiles? All the Star Citizen communities were at war with each other. This gives the options of finding blueprints for better parts. It does. And this game is hot on blueprint gameplay, which I fucking love. Like I said before, like Dune Awakening isn't doing anything crazy innovative, but it's drawing from its games that it has. It's drawing from great ideas from loads of other games, and it's packaging them all together in an awesome IP and just building, from what I can tell, putting together like this really solid entry into the MMO survival genre, which is why I like it so much. Like, it's not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's just drawing from a lot of already developed and established gameplay mechanics and putting them together in a way that makes sense. Exactly, Balor. Good is better than innovative. When you've been following Star Citizen for as long as we have, it gets exhausting constantly being presented the wheel reinvented, you know? It's refreshing to just see all these mechanics coming together, hopefully, and just working well.
So the player is going into the menu here, they're crafting different things which will make up their sandbike. And as you can see, it prints out in this kind of 3D printer type way, where all the materials are turned into
on the other side, chat, there's the cube
to form
all the different components building
of the sandbike. And you can see it's sort of all happening in the background here. And if we go out into the world view, you can actually see the pieces forming up inside the fabricator.
Huh.
So a base with lots of these fabricators going is actually pretty cool and pretty busy.
Oh, dude, you could have like entire bases dedicated to just vehicle factory lines. So your org could just be like pumping out ground vehicles, pumping out ornithopters and stuff. You can have a whole like assembly line essentially. And then you'd have like another base buildings dedicated to purification or just your day-to-day stuff. Pretty cool. Yeah. What's JLR, Piggy?
Once we've done, we jump back in, we pull things out of the queue, chuck them into our inventory, and then we use the welding tool to place out vehicle pieces. Now again, this is a cooperative activity. We've thought about multiplayer, so any other player could be working with you to place modules and pieces of this bike. And so we're going to assemble this bike.
We're going to have...
Of course, when you work on larger vehicles...
Vehicle sweatshops, man.
You'll be able to work together to craft big things like transport ornithopters or sand crawlers. And so we're going to add the body to this, and we're going to add an extra seat just in case we want to bring our friend with us out into the world. Once the bike's been assembled and fueled up, you jump on and you can head out to explore the greater areas of Arrakis.
Awesome. Oh, that was a great segment. That was cool. That was cool. Are you allowed to share this, VOD? No. I don't. No, I'm not allowed to share it, Big Welsh. I'm allowed to just sort of transform it in some way. So I'll be putting this on YouTube. I should probably talk to you guys about that in a minute, but I'll talk to you about that at the end. About my second YouTube channel. But this will be on my second YouTube channel. And then I'll probably make a video for it on my main at some point. It won't be clear without my stupid ass in the corner, though. I can't just put up the video on its own with Joel's commentary. It has to be transformed in some way. So either edited or this.
Heading out into the world to explore can be a dangerous experience. And as you explore the universe, you'll find certain dynamic events will occur.
Oh, the dynamic events!
In this
Sick.
case, the War of Assassins has claimed a new victim, a ship which falls from the sky, spilling its loot all over the sand. So we head out there to see what we can get, to harvest and gather as much as we can.
Oh, cool.
Of course, the problem is, this is extremely visible to everybody in the nearby area. So people will be able to see this. And so in a PvP area, you might suddenly find yourself coming into competition with other players. In a PvE area, you might just find other people competing with you to get to the loot first.
So literally, like in PvE areas, you're just going to be all these scavengers, like loot goblins just emerging from the rocks, from the shade, like loot. If it's a PvP area, you're all going to be killing each other over it. And I guess you just don't know what's inside. So this one's got salvage metal, plasteel, Solaris coins, spice sand, vehicle fuel cell. So it looks like you get quite a good mixture of stuff, which I guess is a good thing. You never know exactly what you're going to get. It makes it more of a gamble. Right? Because you don't want to know. You don't always want to know exactly what you're going to get in them, because then it becomes boring. You want the element of, ooh, what's going to be in there? Could be junk. Could be life-changing. Yeah. Dynamic events, they've talked about those in the early days. You see one, we saw them in the initial trailers. Very cool to see this is what they kind of look like, and they look pretty decent. Hey, Aristan, what's up, dude? I wonder if you get like a world event notice when this happens, or you literally have to be there to see it.
At night time, there are different kinds of threats. Because while the heat of the day is dangerous, at night, the Sardaukar patrol this area of the desert with huge spotlights, searching for players. Now this player is over here, harvesting dew with a dew reaper, sucking the water off the surface of these plants. And they've been captured and seen by the Sardaukar. And the Sardaukar send down troops who come floating down out of the sky to attack and destroy the players.
Yeah, it's the combat is the only thing that's kind of letting it down at the moment. You don't really get... They can't do much with dart guns. They can't give you, like, huge feedback with dart guns. But just generally, like, the movement and the aiming seems like it's a little bit rigid, like I mentioned earlier. But, you know, like I said, it is... There's time for them to improve that. But very cool to see that gameplay mechanic where at nighttime there is this ever vigilant danger of the Imperium and the Sardaukar coming for you. I don't get why they're just cruising at night looking for people. What is there, a curfew? Everybody has to be in at nighttime on Dune? Is there something in the law that I don't know about there? I never thought I'd see a Harkonnen just Just doing some
reiterate
gardening at
again
nighttime
that
either. La, la, la.
Every aspect of Star Citizen is still a work in progress. We're in alpha.
You could rule the entire Dune universe with a shield and a set of Knight's plate armor. Invincible. Daytime sucks. Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. The Sandworm coming up next. Ooh, baby.
Now, of course, as mentioned, traveling on the surface at any time risks drawing a sandworm. But there are certain things which we've created to draw players out of their comfort zones. So in this case, there's a special type of sand here on the surface, known as flower sand. Flower sand, according to the books, is the softest kind of sand, and players can use it to refine it into a variety of different materials that they need for crafting. So you want to come out into the desert and you want to try and find flower sand, but you have to be wary and pay attention.
Anakin's favorite kind of sand.
As you harvest, you risk drawing the attention of the sandworm.
Oh, so good. That's such a good idea. Make you have to go out onto the sand and mine stuff, grab stuff. Forage for stuff, harvest stuff, whatever you want to call it. Did he say, I might have missed that, did he say what the sand flowers used for? Flower sand?
But you have to be wary and pay attention, because as you harvest, you risk drawing the attention of the sandworm.
Baking confirmed, Furcade. Bread sand.
We've awoken the beast. The sandworm is coming. We spent too much time out here, and it's coming to get us. Now you can see in the middle of the screen the indicator showing us that the sandworm is angry, and it's coming after us. And our only option now is to get back
That's
to
terrifying.
rocky ground.
Oh shit, it's fast too. Whoa, it's actually
I don't
genuinely...
know how those guys survived that, but somehow they managed to get to the safety of the rock island.
That's genuinely scary. How cool. I wonder if this flower sand is like how important that resource is.
Oh God! We're gonna die! Don't you understand? We're all gonna die!
Just want to see if he says about what you use it for. I might have missed it. Humanized. Thank you for that follow. Welcome in. I appreciate that.
Flower sand. So in this case, there's a special type of sand here on the surface, known as flower sand. Flower sand, according to the books, is the softest kind of sand, and players can use it to refine it into a variety of different materials that they need for crafting.
Okay, I missed that
So
bit.
you want to come out into the desert.
Okay, so it's one of those, most likely one of those integral ingredients that you need for so many things that you want to make in the game. In which case, you are going to have to go out and get it, is what I was wondering. Like, is it just going to be one of those things that's like not really that important, or is it going to be one of those things where you're probably going to need it quite often? Quality 9001 sand, yeah. Prometheus crew member driving. I keep getting that vibe too. He looks like the engineers from Aliens. Hey, that's what's up, dude. Welcome in. How are you, my man? Here's a question. Can I get one as a mount? I reckon, O'Bannons, that's probably going to be something they attempt to tackle in the future of the game, right? Like, there is a lot of potential for DLC, not DLC, just updates, expansions. Riding the worm, they've specifically mentioned that the worm at the moment is just an environmental terror. It's a threat. It's a mechanic, which I'm totally on board with. But maybe there's a way in the future, certain classes or something can use it to travel across the open sand for a short period of time. They have ruled it out for now, though. Aren't you just going to get used to being around the worm so much it won't be a big deal after a few runs? I think most likely Monday, like, most likely, but it depends what's happening in the area, right? Because it's triggered by your movements. So while you might be used to the sandworm, you might be taking all the precautions to, like, avoid it, doing whatever you're doing on the sand. Could be someone else that you can't see nearby that's creating their own rhythm, right? Or invoking the sandworm themselves. And before you know it, like, it's appeared, but you're kind of not prepared for it. You're taking the precautions. Other people might not be, or other events might be going on that calls the sandworms nearby. I imagine once you become a good player, of course, you're going to be more skilled at avoiding it, and it won't be such a big threat. But we know for a fact that the sandworms can be called with thumpers now. We saw that in the gameplay reveal yesterday. So you can actually call them in with the thumpers, which is awesome. I did not know that was going to be a thing. So you can call them in, or you can distract them away. So if let's say you're trying to get as much flower sand as possible, you know that you're going to attract the sandworm, but you can't afford to move away. Could be the same with spice. If you're trying to collect some spice, you really don't want to move away. You're trying to collect as much as you can in as short a time as possible. You could have somebody off in the opposite direction with a thumper so that when you inevitably do attract the worm, they put a thumper down and call it away and then buy you some more time. I don't know if you can have multiple sandworms in one area. That's a question I have. Can you have like 5 worms just all in this one area? A complete no-go zone for everybody. I wonder. Yeah, it's impossible to maintain first contact level of excitement in an MMO. Do you remember with Last Oasis with the big crab thing came after us? Do you remember the first time you saw that in Last Oasis? You were like, oh my God, run, Jesus Christ. On your walker, like it was an incredible event. The Okram, that was it. But eventually, like, you would kind of it wouldn't be as much of a fear-inducing thing. It was still really deadly, but you kind of knew the distance, you knew the range, you knew the aggro, you knew where you could get away to survive and things. It always happens. Yeah. Oh man, I love what they've done with the worm so far. It doesn't look. I was honestly, I'll be honest, I was expecting like this pathetic limp worm that's like supposed to make you feel scared, but isn't actually that threatening. But this genuinely looks like it will fuck you up if you don't react quick enough. Yeah, Aristan, yeah. With the Okram?
You want to try and find flower sand. But you have to be wary and pay attention.
A limp worm?
Because as you harvest,
a blue spice.
You risk drawing the attention.
Just a little bit. That's all you need.
We've awoken the beast. The sandworm is coming. We spent too much time out here, and it's coming to get us. Now you can see in the middle of the screen the indicator showing us that the sandworm is angry, and it's coming after us.
The worm is
pissed. And our only option now is to get back to rocky ground, or the sandworm's going to take us.
Ooh.
I don't know how those guys survived that, but somehow they managed to get to the safety of the rock island.
Super cool, man. They've nailed it with that. And that's the small ones. The big one, the huge ones in the deep desert will, as we saw in the gameplay reveal yesterday, they're the huge, gigantic, map-sized ones almost. They just gobble up everything that's on top of them.
Once you've crafted your first ornithopter, you'll be able to take to the air, and your entire perspective of the world shifts. From here, it'll make traversing the world a lot safer because you can avoid the sandworms. It'll also help you to go out into the larger world of Arrakis. Here we are in the Overland map, and we're going to make our way south until we find the place known as Harko Village. Harko Village is the current seat of the Harkonnen, after their city, Carthag, was destroyed in a nuclear explosion during the War of Assassins. There's more details like that in the lore of the game for players to discover and explore.
Cool.
So we're going to land at Harko, and we're going to explore the social space.
I wonder how close, or how far from these villages you can be.
In Harko Village, you'll be able to meet up with other players, interact with them, trade, and create guilds. The game has a variety of social interaction mechanics, from emotes to grouping to a chat. Throughout Harko Village, you'll also interact with story characters, Follow the main story. You'll be able to meet vendors who will sell you exotic items.
They let you live. That is interesting.
Okay, so you can come here and buy stuff as well, but I do know this game has a heavy emphasis on crafting. Like, I think crafted weapons and everything are supposed to be the best gear you can get. I think buying things, like, is okay, but I think crafted stuff is supposed to be the best stuff. Again, Star Wars Galaxy's inspiration here. He wanted crafting to be super important, blueprints to be important. Although I don't know about weapons and armor crafting. I haven't seen anything on that yet. Was that a fast travel? Yeah, so there is the Overland map. So the Overland map is how you travel between maps. Basically, imagine a server is what they call a world. So like imagine World of Warcraft, you have like a list of servers. The server list is what they're calling worlds. I believe this is how their terminology, basically. So you go into what I would typically call a server, a world. Then in that world, you have all these servers server meshed together. So what we just saw there, the Overland map. Let me go back again. Yeah, so this Overland map is how you travel between servers, essentially. So you've joined a world, which is, in the traditional sense, an MMORPG server, however many players inside it. Then inside that world, you have the many of these, like Hagar Basins, I think different varieties of these, inside that world, which are all like their own individual servers. And I guess there's like some sort of server meshing tech that links all these up. So you can play with all the people inside that world at any one time, but each one of these areas are supported by their own static server, essentially. So you're not going to be able to see thousands of people at once. It's not that kind of MMO. But you could travel between these different basins, these different servers, essentially, and meet everybody on the world eventually if you wanted to. So you travel between these on the Overland map using your ornithopter, and then each one of these locations is basically their own server. We're going to make our way south
until we find the place known as Harco Village.
What I'm confused about is there isn't any other Hagar Basins nearby. It's just that one Hagar Basin, which may have been just for this presentation, that they've limited how many Hagar Basins there are online and visible that you can move to. Or there's a lot of space between them. I'm not really sure. Yeah, they're like shards. They're like shards inside the world, the server world. But then Harco Village, the social hubs, they are bigger servers where more people can meet. The social hubs, like in most MMOs, are usually bigger player limits.
Is the current seat of the Harkonnen after their city,
Archangel, exactly,
was destroyed in a nuclear explosion during the War of Assassins. There's more details like that in the lore of the game for players to discover and explore.
So there you go. You fly to Harco Village, and then it's like gives you a loading screen. You load into that new server, essentially, and then you're sharing that Harco Village with however many players that Harco Village can support. And then I imagine if you've got a party or if you've got people on your friends list who are already in that Harco Village, you'll probably be just automatically put into the server with them. It's a bit like the map tiles in Last Oasis. Yes, exactly. But it's actually quite similar, I suppose. Yeah, it's quite similar, except instead of just going out to a menu screen like you did in Last Oasis, you have an interactive Overland map that's actually not like incredible groundbreaking gameplay, but it is gameplay. You have fuel and water you have to manage in this view. So if you look at the ship, he's got a blue line and a yellow line. One is fuel, one is water. That will prevent you from just constantly flying over the Overland map. Eventually, you're going to have to stop at another basin, refuel, gather supplies, gather more water so you can continue going. Which is like Last Oasis as well, where you needed water to travel between shards, but you only went to the menu. You didn't have like this active gameplay screen where you moved around. So yeah, that's how they're handling their server tech. That's how they handle the MMO side of the game. And when I first saw this, I liked it. I was not expecting thousands of players in one spot at any given time. That's just not how this game works. Yeah, so everyone else you're seeing flying around, I think not these little ones, but I think you will come across other players and you'll see them flying around in the Overland map as well.
So we're going to land at Harco.
And yes, you're right, Ripper, yeah.
The social space.
I think they're aiming for more, though. I think 40 users was the minimum per Hager Basin.
Once you arrive in Harco Village, you'll be able to meet up with other players, interact with them, trade, and create guilds. The game has a variety of social interaction mechanics.
So
throughout Harco Village, you'll also interact with story characters, follow the main story.
Correct, but yeah, it's a neutral traversal phase. There's no
you'll be able to meet vendors
it's
who
a
will
travel
sell you
map.
exotic items.
They let you live. That is interesting.
You'll be able to get a feel for how the factions are viewed in the world, and of course, you'll be able to swear allegiance to one of the major factions, the Harkonnen or the Atreides. Swear your guild's allegiance and begin to take part in the politics of the Imperium.
Which they haven't really talked
Once
about.
you've grouped up with friends, you should go out into the world and find desert Imperial testing stations. These are dungeon-like experiences, which you and your friends can work through together.
Dungeon, so we are going to see some
here we are
of this.
landing our various ornithopters outside of one of the desert testing stations, and we're going to head in as a group. Now, it's really important to prepare different skills and abilities. These areas tend to be more of a challenge, and it's great to work together to complement each other. So this is the skill tree. Here you can equip different types of abilities and techniques. We have 3 slots for abilities.
3 active abilities at any given time. Okay. I generally like that kind of approach to these kind of games. I'm guessing you can switch them out.
And 3 slots for techniques. And there are multiple different trees depending on the type of trainers that you've interacted with in the world. So our character here is going to equip a series of abilities that complements the rest of their group.
Okay,
in this case, Swordmaster techniques.
Can you do that on the fly then? There was a respec button. I could see a respec button. I wonder if you can just constantly switch them out on the fly, or if that respec's going to hopefully cost you something. Water, credits, spice would be cool.
And of course, you can use dispenser belts to traverse, as you'd expect.
Yeah, Tyrus.
We're going to explore this Imperial testing lab.
You've entered Desert Botanical Testing Station number 163. I'm Dr. Wen Olmeca, Senior Plant Geneticist here at the station.
Testing stations have storylines, as well as enemies to fight and loot to be found.
Okay, cool.
So you really want to go in here and enjoy the experience.
This reminds me of like the Starfield sort of dungeons, whatever you want to call them. You go into these open areas and then you're in like you're sort of seamlessly entering this sort of mini world dungeon where there's stories and loot and special characters inside. Did he say it was instanced? I may have missed that.
Playing through with friends, working together, using different weapons and trying out different techniques. Now this player has placed out a portable cover. This is a different ability to what we've seen before. And you see that the enemies here have shields. Using the flamethrower, it's easy to get through a shield because you can burn the air around them.
You know, I haven't seen anyone crouch yet. I don't think, chat. I don't think we've seen any crouching. This is what I mean when I say that the combat looks a little bit rigid. You know, it feels like you don't have a lot of freedom of movement. And you saw him throw down that shield wall. My first instinct would be to crouch against it. But they're all standing up behind it and still shooting at the enemies and not actually using it as cover. Instead, they're using it as like a body blocker so that they can't get into melee range. I'm trying to think if I saw any crouching earlier during the first combat sequence that they showed us. Again, it's kind of what I mean by it looks like the game, the combat is not fully fleshed out yet. Could be Savage, but a weird thing to be in dev still.
Of course, our characters are a little higher level than they were in the start of this video, so you're able to see that, yeah, we can take people down a little more easily. And of course, when you get to the end of these areas, you find these really cool loot chests. And in these loot chests, you find specialized components that are used for crafting exotic weapons and items.
Cool. He's picked up some buggy treads. Spice infused something. Specialized components. Many items require specialized components to craft. These items and their required components share the same color and marker. Find these components at the locations indicated by their marker. Ah, okay. So it tells you kind of where you'll generally find the rest of the items.
The end game of Dune Awakening takes place in the deep desert.
Yeah, G-Cubed, exactly.
Giant spice blows
deep desert.
will happen, drawing players from all around to try and harvest the spice as quickly as possible.
He's crouching, but he's holding
you want to get
binoculars.
there first, and you want to try and take as much spice as you can before an enemy guild shows up to try and take it away from you.
Hey man, this is
course,
pre-rendered footage.
If you're clever and you start to lose the battle, you might place out a thumper, and that limits the time in which people are able to take spice, because then the big worm is going to show up.
Yeah, it's huge. Woo! It's hard to tell if
I hope
that's
you've enjoyed this brief
actually
glimpse
how big it
at
is.
the gameplay of Dune Awakening, and we're really excited to have you join us when the game releases.
Oh, that's the end, chat. Oh, it's the end. It's over. Oh. Ah, very good. Very good stuff. I'm liking it, dude. That's a really nice look. They gave us a great look at all the gameplay there. Hit a lot of bases. Hit a lot of bases there. You can see the sand walls rising up in the background during the combat footage. You can, but this whole section feels like pre-canned. Pre-canned? Canned? Pre-rendered? Do you know what I mean?
Start to lose the battle, you might place out a thumper, and that limits the time.
You can see it coming up, yeah. So that's the sandworm starting to. I taste flesh.
In which people are able to take spice, because then the big worm.
You see it all in the background.
Show up.
That whole section feels like it's staged, and this. I mean, look how big they are. That is going to deal with some. That's going to help deal with the zerging, which was one of my big concerns with this game. Is the zerging and, just people being able to flood the deep desert with just huge numbers, locking it down, preventing other people from using it, which they still can do. The worm doesn't completely prevent that. But zerging is, I think zerging will still be an issue, but this kind of thing at least prevents zergs from amassing all their forces in one area at any given time. Yeah, thumper a whole org, exactly. I mean, true. Like, if you're a smaller group, thumpers will need to be a bigger element of your strategy. Whereas if you are a bigger group, you're going to be far less likely to use thumpers. A game staging a sandworm scene? Never, Muad'Dib, never. But yeah, like G-Cube says, there is definitely some rigidity with the movement. And like I said, I haven't seen somebody crouch. Yet you have this highly mobile, the wire traversal and the suspensor belt movement. But the sort of standard movement that you have doesn't feel very dynamic. Does it remove the spice though? Yeah, probably. Anyone that dies to a worm, anything that gets eaten by a worm, all your gear is gone. There's no way to recover it. Generally, if you die, you're lootable. But if a worm eats you, eats the vehicles, there's nothing is left. It completely gets rid of everything. So you can't save your loot, you can't salvage the wreck, you can't salvage the parts. Everything is gone when a worm eats it. In the follow-up interview, he talks about some of those things. Yeah, we're going to watch that in a minute. So that's on Sacriel's channel. He got a interview with Joel Bylos. And he said people are welcome to stream it. So we'll take a look at that in a minute as well. Joel Bylos sort of answers some more questions, Q&A with his chat, I believe. That'll stop the Zerg XP grind, DTOX. They'll literally lose it all. Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps. It definitely helps. What you got for me for tunes? Game trailer, actual game. Yeah. But yeah, man.
I hope you've enjoyed this brief glimpse at the gameplay of Dune Awakening.
I've enjoyed it, Joel. Thank you so much. Thank you, Funcom, for sending the footage. Yeah, generally, really, really promising look so far. And we have, what, 6 months? 6 months for them to get this thing in tip-top shape. Honestly, I'm not expecting it to change a huge amount from now until release. Oh, Humanized says he sees some crouching on the video. Dune Awakening official gameplay reveal trailer. 1 minute, 37 seconds. Thank you. Okay, that's good. Well found. Well found, Humanized. Yeah, maybe I'm just not paying attention. Maybe I just missed that.
Field calculation. From and we're using our hunt. They're wearing really equipped to handle range characters.
You'd think it would be in this whole section as well.
Now,
but yes, back to what I was saying. I think between now and release, content-wise, probably not going to change a huge amount. They're probably in that phase now, I would say, where they're just going to be refining and polishing everything for Q1 2025. And I think their strategy is most likely going to be ship with maybe enough content to last 2 to 4 weeks, like actual hardcore content. After that, you're probably going to be doing just most of the deep desert gameplay loop, PvP, emergent sandbox gameplay, no pun intended. And I reckon their strategy is probably to get new content out as quickly as they can, probably within 4 to 6 weeks of release, I would say. Just a guess. I could be totally wrong. But I reckon, considering what we've just seen, the vertical slice, we've seen base building, we've seen vehicle building, we've seen PvE dungeons, we've seen multiple classes in action, we've seen these sort of world map bases, we've seen the Overland map, we've seen the social hubs. We haven't seen the Atreides village anywhere yet. There is still quite a few things we haven't seen, but there's still 6 months for them to show off more of what they already have in the game. Feels like he's using a controller. That's why it looks stiff. Quite possibly. It does show up that he's using a keyboard, though. There's Q and C and... I don't know, could be keyboard and mouse. But yeah, that's generally what they... Oh, look, he's crouching here, actually. Look, I stand corrected.
Which translates to, the basic kind of weapon in the game.
Yeah,
As
he's
you
crouching.
may know, in Dune, bullets are not the preferred type of ammunition. Instead, it's darts.
You can crouch. It's just the players who were in the demo, they just weren't very good. They clearly couldn't find the crouch key. Take it back, guys. We take it back. You can crouch. Generally, very good shit. Very good demonstration of all the stuff they have in the game so far. Looking forward to seeing more. Once again, thank you for watching it with me, guys. Chat and people on YouTube, thank you. Let me know what you guys think as well on YouTube. I already know what you guys think in chat. Let's catch the Q&A.